I think in fighting games, there's a cadence within releases where characters start seeming referential to other characters, and not just in movesets, but in how they look and how they should be expected to play. And Skullgirls managed to really avoid that. There are characters that serve functions within the game, but for the most part, the moves, the look of those moves, the interactions of those moves are all very almost unique to Skullgirls.
It was definitely unique in its style as well. It really plays off of really specifically like American animation. So it just had a unique art style that had, influences and references that everybody that played it and bought it could recognize and, identify with, but was absent in every other fighting game that existed, right? So you have Peacock, that is basically a 1920s Disney character. You have Painwheel, who's just this kind of grotesque flying monstrosity that's just all over the place. Just super unique, but super familiar all at once.
I think from perspective of playing, I like Cerebella a lot because she's straightforward, yet also can do it all. You say a grappler, but in a game that only launched with 8 characters, every character had to do more than one archetype. We often think of this character's good at counter hitting, or this character's good at grappling. But even the grappler could do crazy other things that you would normally associate with a rushdown or a zoning. One of the benefits of the small roster was that no matter who you picked, you were going to get something of a well-rounded game plan. There are going to be strengths, there are going to be weaknesses, but with Cerebella, I found a happy medium of doing all the things I like to do.
Yeah, I have a favorite. My favorite character is Eliza, and that's because she has this really cool mechanic where she's a skeleton. She has this parasite inside of her and it has hyper armor, and she can call it out because her entire body is made out of blood and she can manipulate that blood. She's basically like a bloodbender. And Sekhmet is hyper armor, which means that if someone comes at Sekhmet, then they have to sweep or they have to grab or they have to snap her. Otherwise, Sekhmet wins the engagement. And that is so nasty to do against people who don't know to snap or grab or sweep the skeleton. It's just really oppressive. They'll just sit there pressing buttons and you'll win and you're like, what are you doing?
Valentine is my favorite by far. I mean, it's everything that I consider cool, which is, ninjas and sexy nurses are both things that I'm large fans of. I really like that there are archetypes that are distinct from each other, but they also kind of call back to older, you have Philia being your Magneto, and it's the type of thing where if you have played older teen games, you can sort of pick up the characters. And then over time, they've sort of added more wacky things, right? You have Eliza with her armor, and you have Big Band with his parry, and I think that there's enough flexibility to play the game how you want, which is the biggest part of the games. You could run a well-rounded solo character like Fortune. You could run a character that's not as well-rounded, but just does crazy damage like Big Band. And you can compete with people who have well-thought-out teams with all these grimy assist setups and things like that. And yeah, the cast just sort of lets you play the game how you feel like, rather than having a best way to play the game, which I think is the coolest part about it.
Skullgirls allows you to do custom assists, which is probably the best thing inside of video games ever, which means that you can pick any moveset out of what your character can do in terms of inputs, with the exception being supers. You can do all of those and set that to be your assist inside of the game. So if a character has a move where they're coming out and they wiggle their fingers in front of their ears, then that is an assist that you can make, and you can build your entire team composition around that. And I think that's why consistently you'll see players that are very, very comfortable in Skullgirls always come back to it, because they just want to kind of tease, well, what if I do this? What if I build this? What if I do this? What is my opponent going to do? How's my opponent going to react to this specific type of team if I put them in these specific situations? That's really unique to Skullgirls.
No!
Surgery!